Hey mamas. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Jess.
I'm Erica.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for today's guest. Her name is Rebecca. She's actually an educational consultant. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
We are doing as good as we can in this situation. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, do you know everything about parenting? Because I'm like, what can I ask her to help me be a better person?
Oh, I feel like it's never possible for anyone to know everything, but I do know most things when it comes to children between 0 and 5.
Mama's Code. How many kids do you have, and what is it you do for a living?
So I have 2 children, a girl and a boy. My daughter's 12, my son is 7, and I'm a early years consultant. So I support childcare settings, after school clubs, anyone that works with children who have children between the ages of 0 to 5. I help them with raising their standards. So I could do training, mock inspections, tailored consultancy, anything like that. And I also support parents with potty training workshops and one-to-one support.
How did you get into consulting?
Always had like a huge passion for working with children. So from I was roughly 14, I worked in my parents' Saturday school. And from then on, I went to college, got a job as a trainee actually in a nursery, and worked myself all the way up to nursery manager. And then I saw that I really love improving standards. Like I could just see that this is what needed to be done to improve standards. I went off to uni and done my degree, but it took me a while. It's something that I've always supported settings, but it's something that took me a while to find the confidence.
Was you ever a nursery teacher yourself?
Yeah, I've nursery nurse. It's more nursery nurse, room leader. I've had deputy managed and nursery managed.
How do you deal with that amount of kids? Like I can barely deal with mine. I can't, like, honestly. Like now, like before I used to think like, oh, you know, it's their job. But now, if I could give teachers the biggest raise, I would, because my God, kids are difficult.
Yeah, I think for me, I love what I do. So I don't even see it as work. I'm like, oh, wow, I get to like support children, help them to learn, flourish, achieve. And when you see children like hitting their targets, it just makes you feel so happy. And at the end of the day, when you see the parents and you tell them this is what they've done, this is how they're improving, and seeing their faces like, oh, that's what I love with the job. I feel like you're just either good with managing a lot of children or you're not, but getting to know the children, knowing what they like, knowing how to manage their behaviour. Once you know each child individually, you spent that time with them, you're able to sort of work around any tantrums. And obviously children are children, they're going to have the odd tantrum. But if you know that child, you know why they're going to be doing that, and then you can find solutions.
You probably know them better than their parents, right? I always say that. I'm like, normally, like when sometimes I go pick up my son, he's in nursery, and they ask me something, I'm like, I don't know, you should know. You spend more time with him. Or he says a weird word and I'm like, oh, maybe I should call nursery to ask them what this is.
I bet you in lockdown you must have been like, who are you? What are you talking about? Like,
it is so different to like having your own and then looking after other people's children. So it has been a different transition. But with me, I more so now work with the parents more than the children now.
Do you apply what you teach into your parenting and how you've raised your daughter and son?
I would say most of it because it works. So I think most of what I've learned, but not probably 90%. I think the 10%, you're just going to be a mum. You can't be a robot and just 24/7 follow the rules when you know, okay, I should have done this, I should have done that. Sometimes it does go out of the window and you think, okay, do what you want. I'm going to just let you get on with it.
Trash the house. Do you know what? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it easier to handle them because you know you can't shout at them? Whereas with your own, I mean, I don't know if you shout at your kids or not, but with your own, you know, you've got that comfort. You know that no one's going to come and say, why are you shouting at this person for?
Yeah, well, I don't shout because if shouting's not effective, it's going to upset your child, it's going to distress them, they're going to become frightened of you, and it doesn't actually work. So it's more about before you get to that point of, oh, like taking a step back, even if it means you've got to walk away and take some time to yourself. Or I always say to parents, evaluate the situation before you get to that boiling point. So if your child's not listening to you, for example, and you've had to repeat yourself over and over again, instead of just losing it, actually taking a step back and think, why is my child doing that? Let me just have a think about it. Are they tired? Are they hungry? Are they bored? And then when you can work out what the issue is, you can find the solution. So you can think, okay, it's coming up to midday, it's lunchtime. Do you know what? I don't know where the time's gone. He probably wants a snack. He probably wants something to eat. He's been in all day. Let me take him outside. So I always say to parents, before it gets to that, your child won't usually just have a massive tantrum. There's usually a build up. So watch the signs when the build up is happening and intervene before it gets to that point where you're like, ah, there's a balance. It's easy looking after my children because I've got so much structure, I've got routine, and I understand why they do what they do. So I don't get frustrated because I understand childcare and I understand children. I understand why they do things. I understand them. But I also find that other people's children are just really easy. It's so easy. I'll have parents like, why do they listen to you? What are you doing? And it's just like, I don't know.
But it's always like that. When they go with the grandparents or anyone else, they're like the best child. And then when they bring them back and they're like, oh no, they were well behaved. But I've learned that that's because obviously we are their comfort zone. Like we are their safe place. So they are going to feel absolutely free to express themselves.
Exactly. So it is a positive reason why they do that. It is because of that. They feel more comfortable around you and they feel safe. So they're going to just express every emotion.
When you say you understand children and you know not to get frustrated, could you please teach me? Because I find it like very hard to not get frustrated. Like I feel like I'm good with patience at times, but I don't know, maybe now in the time that we're in at the moment, and obviously I have to juggle work and, homeschooling. It just, sometimes the two just don't go well and I explode.
I think it's just best it depends on the age range of your child, because like every parent, sometimes I still do get frustrated because if you're in the middle of doing something, I'm human. But in this time, I've planned ahead with it. So my children had a routine anyway, because I think a routine is really, especially if your child's in that age range of 0 to 5, 0 to 7, they need that structure, they need that routine. In the school system, they have that routine, and it shouldn't be as rigid as that. People shouldn't be following the school system of 9 o'clock we're going to get up. That's not what you should be doing at home. That's too much for your child. It should be at the most 2 hours of learning, an hour in the day, an hour in the afternoon. In between should be free time, story sessions, or whatever they would like to do. Outdoor play, because that's really important for them to have fresh air, but they can't just be learning like the school system. You're not going to get anything out of them. That's when they're going to get frustrated. That's when they're going to get upset. And also asking your child how they are. How are they feeling? Are you okay? Because especially in this time, they must be like, look how we feel. Can you imagine what that's like for your child? So sometimes you might find your child's acting out, but it's because they're so frustrated and they're showing you that through their behavior, because they might not be able to articulate that to you. So I think now is the time where, with me, if I feel like, I'm going to get frustrated, sometimes you've got to breathe and just count to 10, honey. Just do that, because remember what they're going through right now. So sometimes they may be acting out even more than what they were doing before because of what is going on. Have a set day or throughout the day, or set time, throughout the day, where you say, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you feeling scared? Do you understand what's happening? You know, you're at home with mummy now, or you're home with daddy now, and including them in your routine. So the routine that I've done with my children, I include them so that they find it's fun, it's interesting, they're looking forward to what's going to happen next. And when your children are enjoying their day, they're less likely to be rolling on the floor and not listening. So yeah, try and make sure you add in some fun and add in their input.
Not gonna lie, I've woken up, and before, you know when you wake up but your eyes are obviously still closed, and in my head I'm already like, I can't do this, like I've lost my patience already. But we've always said that it's really important to get down to the same level as our kids to understand them and help them understand us and the situation around that, right? But say, for instance, when you had your first child, did you have that breakage of, you know, what we're discussing, or because you were already in that sector, you felt like maybe you had it easier than other parents that are still learning to hold their patience and understand their child?
And what you have to remember is we're all human. So some days you are going to say, I can't, this is too much. Like, I'm tired. Like, where's my mom? Where's my dad? Where's the nan? Come on, coats, jackets, let's go. Everybody has those days, and that's okay. What we have to understand is every single parent, doesn't matter who you are, consultant, professional, you know, has those days where you are just tired, where you just need a break, where you feel like just pulling the covers over your face and just pretending you're not there. That's normal, and that's okay. Don't feel like, oh, like I'm a bad parent, or oh, today that I haven't done anything, I've not done any homeschool today. That is okay. It's okay to have a break. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be tired. So don't give yourself that added pressure or thinking you're the only parent that has a bad day. That is normal. So, but I think going back to what you said, I do feel like, yeah, that was an advantage for me because I knew what I was supposed to do. Not supposed to do because it's not like a set way to be a parent, but I knew about routines. I knew about, you know, getting her around other children to develop her personal, social and emotional development. I knew about reading to promote her language, literacy skills. So I knew what I needed to concentrate on to promote her development, as well as what would be good for her to do in terms of activities, things like that, you know, going around other mums, things like that. So I think, yeah, if I hadn't have studied, I think it would have been a lot harder on me. But for me as well, I've always loved children. So I always thought it was like, oh, this is fun. Like, I want to do this, I want to do that. So from school, I've always been someone who I would love to babysit. I would love to like go and see my nieces and nephews. So yeah, I've just had that love for children at a young age.
Mama, I love you.
You have your career, but you also are a mum. So tell us, how do you juggle motherhood and your career? Because we've touched on this before, and we know that sometimes doing both things just doesn't mix because you feel like you're spending more time doing one thing than the other. So you feel like you're not fully doing one thing and giving it 100%.
Yeah. What I do is I try and have like targets for the week. So I might say I've got work Tuesday, and I book in when I want to work. So that's the joy of being self-employed, is I never work a full week because I want that time with my children. I want that time to be able to just relax. So if I feel like, okay, I've worked 3 days that week, next week I might say I'm not taking any bookings next week so that I've got that time. As well as that, I buffer times. So I say, okay, it's 9 o'clock till 10. I'm going to do some home learning with my children. They're going to have free time. 10 o'clock till 11:30. That's the time I'm going to work on my business. And then at 11:30 lunchtime, that's it now. I'm going to have lunch with my children, catch up on how they've been feeling. I might go outside with them afterwards, take them for a walk, take them to the park. And then when they come back in, they might do some learning again. And then when they have their fun time and their break time, then I might do something. So I just try and break up the day so I can fit in things that I need to do when my children are at that point when they're having their free time, where they can pick what they want to do, relax.
I think it's definitely important to get yourself in some sort of routine. And we all know that routines are bound to have their days when they just go all over the place and you don't even know what time it is. But I think from when they're really young, I feel like it is important to have a routine. Like, obviously it's hard when they're like newborns, but if you get them into a flow of, like, say before bath time, we read a book, massage you, put you to bed, they already start picking up the hints on, okay, it's coming towards bedtime. So if you apply that onto a toddler or onto an older child, then they're already going to feel like they know what's coming up, which is good and bad, because they can be like, oh my God, no, it's bedtime and I'm going to start getting 1,000 excuses because I don't want to go to bed. But I think it is important so that you as a parent can find time for yourself, find time for you and your partner if you're living with a partner, and also find time that you're actually dedicating to your child, even if it's 20 minutes a day when your undivided attention.
Exactly. And that's the joy of a routine. And like I said, your routine doesn't have to be so boom, 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 but it's just like a little guide on, this is what I want to do in the day. And then a routine's good for their well-being as well, because there's no point of them being up all night and then they're tired in the morning, they don't want to get up, they don't want to do anything, they can't even think about doing anything because they're just like, I just want to sleep. So it's good for them. At some point they are going to be going back to school and they're going to need to be getting up early again. So as much as it's right now, they don't always need to go to bed early. It's still good to follow a time scale where you say, do you know what, it's bedtime now, so you can have that time and that they can have enough time to rest, because it's important for them to get a good amount of sleep.
To be honest, I can't think of a parent, I mean, Erica, maybe you can speak here, but I can't think of a parent that has a talking child during this lockdown and is going to extend later bedtime.
Yeah.
That would be insane.
Oh,
I mean,
I can say I've done it
on the weekend, like Friday weekend. I think it's all right, but because I've tried it. My child is a year and he's gonna be 2 in May, and there's been days like this couple of weeks I'm like, oh, do you know what? I'm gonna push him to like 8 or 9. Like, it's fine. Come 6, I'm like, no. Like, I think the latest I've put him to bed was like 8:15 the other day, and I was gagging. I was like, no, never again, because he's just full on. And so this is what I'm saying, like, obviously you guys, your children are older, so it's like they're talking, they're constantly like, just shut up. like
Funny though, because
when they go sleep you miss them.
Yeah, exactly. And then not only that, but I find that sometimes I have been letting them to go to bed later because I don't even know what time it is after a certain, like the days are just so weird.
Yeah,
that sometimes I'll look at the time and be like, hey, it's 9 o'clock. Where has the time gone? So I find that, I don't know how, but the days are just sometimes going quicker or slower, and you just sometimes I don't even know what the day is.
It's insane. Like, I was just thinking about it. Like, today, my son, he's 6. All day, he just kept talking and talking and talking. And I was like in a meeting and he was blowing into my ear. And I was like, and you know when like you're trying to talk and I was like, stop. Oh, it was annoying. And I was like, Joel, just stop. And he was like, and we had lunch at 12:30 because I tried to keep it like, school. Like, I always think, okay, maybe, 12:30 they're having lunch, so let's try. And at 1 he was like, can we have dinner? I was like, what? But you just ate. And he was like, yeah, but I'm ready for dinner.
Yeah, because they're just so they're used to being around their friends and having all these set activities in the classroom, so they're more bored at home.
Restless.
Yeah, they're restless, they're just bored. So it's like, it's good if you use your bubbles to let them have that social time, because I just find that they're just more, they want that social interaction, especially if they don't have siblings.
Have you felt a lot of mom guilt during this time? That obviously the kids are home and they know you're working as well. And obviously your children are older, so it's easier to communicate with them, I guess.
Yeah, I think every parent feels that guilt. I do feel that guilt sometimes, and you think, oh, am I doing enough? Maybe there's times that you might not have I might not have took them out for the day, and you think, oh, they've not had their walk today, and you sort of, but I just remind myself to not give myself that added pressure. We're in such a strange time, and I feel like for me, I'm not even so strict on the home. I wouldn't even call it homeschooling, it's home learning. The children aren't homeschooled unless you were homeschooling before. This is home learning. We're not teachers. We're parents. So take that added pressure off yourself to feel like, oh, they have to just do something every single day. It's okay to say, today, actually, I'm just going to focus on my children and what they want to do, because their well-being is more important than making them sit down and, can you please do this? Can you please do that? We're in a difficult, strange time. What I do is sometimes say, okay, today we're just going to have a fun day. That's it. We're not even going to think about any learning today. Let's have fun. What would you like to do? Let's do it. You want to make a cake? Let's make a cake. You want to go to the park? Let's go to the park. You want to watch movies? Let's watch movies. Because that way I don't feel so like, oh, I haven't done enough, or, because it's their well-being is what's most important. So I just try and make sure that their mindset's okay and that they're happy. It's just too much.
I feel like in this time that, parents with home, teaching their kids, I feel like they forget that they are not teachers. So any time that they are given their child and, going through the home packs and activities, they really are doing the best that they can. And I feel like, because I had this conversation with one of my friends the other day, and she was saying that she felt like her daughter was falling back on her development milestones and what she should have known by this age. And it's like, yeah, but if you put it into perspective, every other child her age across the world, or across the UK even, is going to be in the same, they all fall back to the same level. So once everything goes back to normal, they will learn these things.
Exactly. That's why I say to parents, don't give yourself that extra pressure. It's not homeschool, it's home learning. Do what you can do, and that is enough. If there's a day where you feel like, I can't do any home learning today, then don't do it. It's not going to be detrimental on your child's learning and well-being. It's actually better for you to actually take that break, opposed to you need to take that break, but instead you're like, oh, they have to do this, and then you're frustrated. That's when the frustration happens, the shouting happens, because you know that you needed to take a break that day, but you thought, no, they have to do their schoolwork. So how you're then teaching them is coming across as negative, and then they're not cooperating. So I think you do have to say, okay, today I'm going to have a rest. You must be kind to yourself in this time. You're doing your best, and all parents should be so proud of themselves in this time. And like I said, make sure, if there's a day that you feel like, I can't do anything today in terms of that, don't do it. It's okay. Like, it's okay. Everyone is in the same position as you.
You saying that today, someone in my son's school in the chat sent a message, and it was really nice, because it kind of like, everyone like yourself, you're saying, we're all in the same boat. This lady was like, when in actual fact, we're not all in the same boat, but the same storm, because everyone's circumstances are different. Like in the chat today, someone was like, oh my God, if the nanny wasn't here, I wouldn't be able to get any work done. When you have single mothers out there struggling, when, you know, you have furloughed parents trying to their best, but also in that mindset of, oh my God, when am I going to be able to get a job? Because obviously during this time, it's very hard to get one. And it was really nice. And, you know, she was saying like, we are all just trying to weather this storm out. Everyone's circumstances are different. Just do your best, get through without putting too much pressure on your shoulders. And for like, say us, like my son's in year 1. So she was like, we're just lucky that we have much younger children. And, you know, hopefully this won't have such a significant impact on their long-term education, because like Jess said as well, you know, everyone's going to be on the same boat.
Like you said, like, who, you don't have a nanny or a chef at home for that fact.
International chef, I'd like, please.
Tell us about an experience that you found it difficult to get through that child, basically, that you felt tested. Because I feel that when we are in these deep end situations, it's when we come out of it thinking, oh my God, never again. But then when you look back, it's like, what did, you know, I actually learned from something from that situation.
Well, it's always trial and error, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've encountered children that I would say are, because for me, what you may think is difficult, to me, I enjoy. So, you know, the children that just don't listen, or the ones that are the most, people would say, oh, they, you know, difficult. For me, I sort of magnet towards those children. And I've always been like that. So at my dad's Saturday school, the children that were perceived as, oh, this one doesn't listen, I'd be like, can I teach that child, please? Please. And they would listen to me. So I don't really feel like I've encountered, like other people might see that child as, yeah, that was a difficult child, but to me it isn't. I like challenges. I like, that's why I've set up this business, one of the reasons, because I like to take on places that need that support. Ones that are failing are the main ones that I support, or the ones that are doing well, then I'm able to help them to do even better. So yeah, that's the joy that I get, helping parents support their children.
I think that's one thing that you've said it yourself, because you find passion in what you do, you don't see it as, oh my God, what the fuck is this? Because and especially in the educational sector, that we've spoken to other teachers or assistants and even nannies, that they don't see it as an issue. They don't see their tantrums as because I guess where you've studied behavior, you kind of expect it, and you don't set yourself to failure. Basically, you don't set yourself up to like
what you're going to get into, and not just expressing themselves. If a child's going to be rolling on the floor having a tantrum, what am I going to be like for? If the child's 2, 3, they're going to be doing that. That's normal. That's how they're learning. Okay, that's not what I do to get my way. So you have boundaries, you have golden rules. This is what we should do. You know, reinforce positive behavior. Sometimes you just have to ignore that. Like, oh, why are you doing that? Instead of saying, oh, is that what we should do? What do you think we should be doing? And then giving praise for them doing the right thing, opposed to giving them that attention for the tantrum because that's what they want. Once you know the techniques and you've got those tools to sort of maneuver it, it's easier. But like I said, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes children will just be children and just continue. But yeah, I think when you've worked in this industry, you just learn. It's just so normal to see that you just don't get like, oh, because you see a child doing it every day.
I guess it's like when midwives see the mom shit themselves when they give birth. They're like, oh, it's fine.
It's fine, yeah. So it's like, it's normal. Working in the nursery, every day a child is going to have a tantrum. Every day a child's going to say no, or not listen, or I don't want to eat, or no, I'm not coming inside. It's just inevitable. So when you're so used to it, you don't even notice it so much. You don't even react. You just react to that individual child. So you know what you need to do to support that child. That's why we have key workers. So the key worker will have that special bond with those children, and they will more or less know, okay, this is what he's going to do. This is how to get him out of the tantrum. This is what Mum has said this morning. Good communication with the school or your nursery team is good, because that way they'll really get to know your child and what helps them when they're not feeling so good.
In regards to everything we've spoken about today, what would be your tip or positive message?
I would say to just continue to be kind to yourselves as parents. We are in a difficult time, and don't overwhelm yourself. Remember to take breaks and focus more on your children's well-being and your well-being, opposed to, oh, they have to do this, they have to do that. So just make sure you're okay and your children are okay. So just remember to ask them how they're feeling and focusing more on that. And just to never give up on your dreams and your aspirations. It is difficult to launch a business. It is difficult to juggle being a mum and being a business owner. There are days that I feel like, oh, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Find that motivation that's going to keep you going, and you will never give up. So for me, my motivation is my children. So when I feel like I'm tired, instead of giving up, I just rest and say, I'll do better tomorrow. So find that motivation, something that's going to get you up in the morning, something that's going to make you feel like, I want to give up, but you don't, because you know what you're doing it for. Be that role model for the community, for the younger generation, for women, to say, do you know what? If she can do it, so can I. Find your passion, find your motivation, and you'll be able to do it. Get back up, girl, and go. Rest today, but tomorrow go and get what you want to get. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for that. I feel like I needed this episode. I'll probably listen back to it a million times and be like, just breathe.
Yeah, I'm gonna, you know, like the meditation voices. I'm just gonna put that bit where she's just like, just breathe, take a moment, breathe till 10. Just gonna have it in my ears all the time.
Instead of Jojo.
Yeah. When Joel pisses me off, I'm just gonna hear Rebecca, breathe, Erica, breathe.
You'll be surprised how different just breathing for 10 seconds can change everything.
I'll try it tomorrow. I know he's going to get on my nerves.
Guaranteed.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mama's Code out. Mwah.
Mama's Code.